Well, the rupee hit a new all-time low within a span of 2 weeks, crossing the 62 mark to a dollar. The falling currency sending the markets into a downward spiral, with the Sensex plunging over 500 points, while the 50-share Nifty benchmark traded below the key 5,600 levels. The record low of the Indian currency, despite the RBI measures on Wednesday, also sending the government into a huddle with a high-level meeting of the finance minister and other finance ministry officials on at the PMO.
Today's mood has been more governed by the data that came out of the US. The unemployment claims that came in were very, very low, 6-year low, and that has strengthened the case for a Federal Reserve pullback of the QE3 or a taper back of the QE3, and probably an earlier calendar than expected. And I think that's impacted the global stock markets, but our stock markets have taken a bigger hit. And I don't know whether the rupee casting a shadow on the stock markets or the stock markets casting a shadow on the rupee, but I think both have been feeding on themselves. But I still would like to maintain that the fact that 2 months in a trot we had trade deficit coming in at $12 billion, and qualitatively the last number that came in was very good, because we had a 11% odd pickup in exports, that too with only the US markets looking good, and now with probably Eurozone coming out of a recession, you could see the Eurozone also becoming a big customer. So fundamentals are happening, but sentiment is so overpowering and in these markets, and that's been negative, and that I think will continue to cast a shadow for some time.
Yes, quite right. I think essentially the adverse macros are largely affecting the rupee sentiment. The policymakers, both government and the RBI, have been relentless in their efforts to contain this, downward spiral in the rupee, if I can say so. The recent measures announced by RBI, for instance, more near-term capital control, if I can call it, is essentially to stem the outflows both from the corporate levels and the remittance levels. So they have curbed those degrees of outflows. Simultaneously, they have encouraged the non-resident Indian deposit route, both on FCNRB, they've raised the rates, and also on NRE deposits, they've deregulated. So in a way, they are encouraging inflows, but unfortunately, quick on the back of these measures, yesterday we were closed, but today what we saw was the global cues playing a much larger role. Yesterday's data on jobless claims coming the lowest in last 6 years. Simultaneously, the sequential increase in the CPI inflation in the US has brought ahead the expectations of a likely taper sooner than anticipated. I think that's what caused a lot of equity markets in the region to react to that, overnight developments in the US economy. And Indian markets also, in tandem in the similar direction, began to react to the news of, the real economy data and its impact on a likely earlier taper.
देखिए, ये जो देश की रिफॉर्मिस्ट सरकार है, उदारवादी अर्थव्यवस्था वाली सरकार है, इस सरकार में दो ही चीजें मालामाल हुई हैं। एक तो डॉलर मालामाल हुआ है और दूसरा दामाद मालामाल हुआ है। रुपया हमारा कंगाल हुआ है, देश की अर्थव्यवस्था कंगाल हुई।